Hey, Braden. The Bible study today is going to be in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 10. And what we're going to talk about today is when Samuel anointed Saul to be the first king of Israel. So the story goes that Israel told Samuel, who was their judge at the time, he was their priest, that they wanted a king because they had never had a king and they wanted to be just like the other nations around them. Well, that wasn't God's plan, but God told Samuel, okay, fine, go ahead and let them have the king, but warn them about what the consequences will be. So then God sent Saul to meet Samuel, and God told Samuel, this is the king, so he anointed him privately as the king, and then he sent him back home. So Saul knew that he was going to be the king, but he didn't tell anyone else. Well, then Samuel told all of Israel, everybody come to this place, the meeting place called Mizpah, and we're going to choose a king. Now remember, the king had already been chosen. Samuel knew and Saul knew. But they brought all of Israel, lined them up, and then they went through this process of picking one of the tribes, which was Benjamin, and then picking one of the clans of Benjamin, and then narrowing that down to one of the families of Benjamin, and then eventually they named Saul as the king. So they made the announcement, Saul is the king, and Samuel looks around and he doesn't find Saul. He doesn't know where he is. So in 1 Samuel 10:22, when Samuel couldn't find Saul to anoint him, to present him as the new king, this says, Samuel went back to God. Is he anywhere around? God said, yes, he's right over there, hidden in that pile of baggage. So Saul had been anointed king. He knew he was going to be the king. He went through this whole process of watching God narrow down from tribe to clan to family and finally to the man. And instead of being confident and being a man and accepting the responsibility, Saul was hiding like a coward among the suitcases. So Saul, they finally brought Saul out, presented him as the king, and the story goes on, and Saul then ended up being a very bad king. He was a horrible example. He didn't obey God. He was really selfish. He had a lot of mental problems. So we can say that Saul is a guy in the Bible that we don't want to be like. And this is another example. This example of him hiding in the luggage is just another example of how not to act. So the lesson here, and there are a lot of lessons to learn from Saul, but the lesson today is that if God has called you to do something, then you should do it. And you should do it gladly. And you should do it with confidence. Don't hide in the luggage and be afraid of what's going to happen. Get out there and do whatever it is that God has called you to do. And you don't have to be rude or arrogant about it, but you can be confident because you are doing what God has told you to do. And you are standing on His authority, not on your authority. So it's not your word, it's not your rules. You're just doing what God said, and because God is in charge, you can be confident about it. So if God has called you to do something, then do it with confidence, do it gladly, and do it well. We've talked about having a spirit of excellence. And be confident. Don't worry about what other people are going to say. Don't be afraid of what's going to happen. That happens a lot to people. They get afraid whenever God sends them on a journey or sends them on a mission. So don't be afraid. Just stand on God's word, stand on His authority, and be confident and follow His commands. Hope you have a good day.